Hi and welcome to the video. I have been getting several requests for an update on the current status of both the proposed law to attract investors, rentistas and pensionados, and the Digital Nomad Law. Now, since the Costa Rican Congress recently held its first vote on the law to attract investors, rentistas and pensionados, I thought this was the perfect timing to bring you all up to date. So let's start off with the law to attract pensionado, rentistas and investors. That initiative began on August 19th, 2020, so we are heading almost to the one-year mark of that proposed law winding its way through the Costa Rican legislature. Now, the good news is that it was approved in first debate in Congress with 35 legislators voting in favor. So what does that all mean? So let's quickly look at how a proposed bill becomes a law in Costa Rica so that you can see why the process takes so long to complete. And although with this particular law, we are on a good track, it is not yet finalized. Now, stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to discuss some additional tax exemptions that were included in the final version of this proposed law that even I was surprised that they were included. So we have a proposed law, in this case, the law to attract investors, rentistas and pensionados. This proposed bill was presented to the Congress by 3 legislators who are the original proponents of this bill, and they are Milady Alvarado of the National Restoration Party, Marian Inés Solis of the United Social Christian Party, and Sylvia Hernandez of the National Liberation Party. Now, once the bill has entered the congressional flow, the first step is that it gets assigned to a legislative committee to review the proposal. In this case, the law was assigned to the tax committee known as Hacendarios. That committee then initiates an extensive analysis and review of the proposed law and sends it out for consultations with different private and public sector groups. For example, in this particular case, we can see that they sought out the opinions of the Costa Rican Social Security Administration, the Treasury Department, the Ministry of Security and Police, the Immigration Department, Ministry of Foreign Commerce, the Costa Rican North American Chamber of Commerce, the Costa Rican Coalition for Investment and Development, and the Chamber and Association for Private Sector Enterprises. And here where you can see all of the opinions that they were rendering back to the committee. The proposed law is also consulted with the Comptroller General of the Republic of Costa Rica. And for example, we can see in their letter when they responded back here, their comments as to what needed to be adjusted or what questions they had regarding the content of the law. I hope this is giving you a glimpse into the process and the reason why it takes so long to get a law like this approved. Once the Congressional Committee has completed its evaluation and made modifications to the content of the proposed law, then it either gives it an affirmative vote to move on or it rejects it completely and then goes to the archives. In this case, for the law that we are discussing, the committee gave the approval for the bill to continue, and the bill is presented to the full floor of the legislature for a vote in the first debate. The proposed law was presented to the legislature and was approved in the first debate. Now, here's one of the proponents of the law arguing the benefits that this law would bring.
Hemos trabajado fuertemente para los inversionistas, rentistas y pensionados, que este proyecto traerá y generará gran reactivación económica.
Now, there are opponents to this law as well, and here's some opinions countering, espousing their opposition to this law as well.
Dice claramente que abre portillos a la legitimación de capitales de dudosa procedencia, especialmente para el narcotráfico y el crimen organizado.
So it wasn't a unanimous decision, but they had sufficient votes in order to get it passed in first debate. So where do we stand right now? It has to go back to the legislature for a second debate, and if it's approved in that second debate, then it's sent over to the president of Costa Rica, and if the president signs it, it becomes law. So for those of you that are planning a move to Costa Rica and looking at your timing in order to be able to apply under this law, I can't give you an exact date because it's going to depend on the legislative agenda. And once it is approved in the second debate, it still would need to go to the office of the president for signature. And after that, it would need to go to each of the different departments that would oversee this law in order for them to issue their particular regulations, such as the tax department on the tax exemptions and the Department of Immigration on the processing of the status. So you might want to assume this will not be available until next year and then make your plans accordingly. Okay, so what are the benefits provided by this law? Let's take a look at it, and this is based on version of June 10th, 2021. You're going to be able to apply for tax exemption on your household items imported when you move to Costa Rica. You're going to be able to get a tax discount if you purchase property on the transfer tax, 20% discount. You're going to be eligible for no income tax on the income that you reported to qualify for your residency status. If you're applying for investor status, the amount required is no longer $200,000. It will drop to $150,000, and you will also get expedited processing at immigration. No, I did not forget to mention that the law also allows you to bring in a car. Remember, the original version of the law allowed one duty-free vehicle. Now, recall that I had mentioned that I was surprised about a change in the law? Well, this is it. This new version allows for the import of 2 transport vehicles and expands the definition of transport to include cars, boat, or air transport. So that's the latest update on the law to attract investors, residents, and pensionados to Costa Rica. Now, simultaneously, the government's also pushing through the Digital Nomad Law. This law is referred to officially as the Law to Attract International Remote Service Providers, and it is following the other law pretty closely on the legislative track. This one also has the approval of the legislative committee. In this case, it was the tourism committee that approved it. This one is still waiting for a date to be called up to the floor of the Congress in order to have the first vote. Now, unlike the first law that we discussed about investors, rentistas, and pensionados, this particular law does not grant you residency status. It grants you an extended visa to stay in Costa Rica for up to a year. As such, if you're considering coming to Costa Rica as a nomad, you may want to look at the category of estancia, which has been in existence for many years. And basically, it will grant you a 6-month visa, renewable for another 6 months. So it can accomplish the same thing. Now, there are differences between the two, but this one is in existence right now, so it is available for you to apply if you don't want to wait for the Digital Nomad Law to pass. Well, I hope this video has clarified a little bit the current status of both the law to attract investors, rentistas, and pensionados, and the Digital Nomad Law. As any changes develop or approvals come our way, I will certainly keep you updated as well. Thank you for watching the video.